All right, welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Tuesday, August 8th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it today. So markets here finishing down about 0.5%, at least the Dow and the S&P. NASDAQ closer to down 1%, although we did come slightly off the lows by the end of the day there. And then the Russell also took a hit there. That was down 59 basis points. We did get below this green bar low here today on the Russell, so that is a failed green bar. I mean, it's not really the best inside bar, but we did close below that that kind of breakout bar there. So a little bit of weakness there on the IWM, and on the weekly, still, nothing really terrible here unless you close below 191.14, but obviously market's coming under a little bit of pressure, but we did come nicely off the lows by the end of the day. We also got a fake print at 450.70. So if you see here the high of the day on the spiders, 450.70, we never got anywhere near there today. So that may be something that gets tagged tomorrow, or perhaps on CPI. I'm not surprised that we were chopped around today. I did expect us to remain range bound here, but price action wise, I think for the bulls, this isn't really what you want. I want for the bulls, I would prefer to see 444 today, possibly even like that 50 moving average. Like I would have wanted Monday, Tuesday to be down, or Monday to be down sharply. And I'm going to use the Qs here actually. I would have wanted yesterday to be down sharply and then like a gap down below this 50 today. But we didn't get there. And the reason I would say that is you want to be able to V-shape, and the way that we're just kind of grinding down here, it's not really the greatest. We did get very close to that 50 moving average today, and they don't make it much easier than that, and that's probably why it didn't get hit. I was sitting there waiting for a pierce of that today to go long. 368.82 low of the day, 367.93 is the 50 MA, and then of course this trend line. It would have been really easy. It'll give you slam dunks like that. That's probably why it didn't get there. I will say though, I'm going to count this as a trend line hit here. I mean, you're like $1 away. That's kind of like a tag. And I mean, there's nothing to say we couldn't just do a little artwork here on this either. And, there's a trend line hit. So it's close enough for government work. I'm going to call that a trend line hit though. Tomorrow, do we pop? It's possible. Does it matter? Not really, because CPI is Thursday, and I think it's going to come in pretty hot. So we'll see how the market reacts. Maybe this is the market's way of pricing it in a little bit, selling off ahead of time. We'll see what the market's reaction is here to that, if and when that happens. Well, obviously not if, but when that happens on Thursday. I'm in the camp we have some type of a top in here in place. Look at the distribution volume multiple times now in the last couple of weeks, and you see the same thing there on the spiders. All the Qs are weaker, as we've said multiple times. That should continue to be the case there. This morning we did have some bank downgrades. Although if you caught the short video this morning, I said there was no technical damage on the charts of the financials, except I mean some of them were. KRE is just fine. Regionals are fine. That actually almost went green. Same thing with KBE. But Citigroup, that's pretty ugly there. It did come off the lows, but definitely a big breakdown there. Wells Fargo coming in pretty sharply as well. So some of these banks getting hit. Bank of America came down, although it came off the lows there and closed right on the 20 moving average. But, markets did recover by the end of the day, and we'll respect that for the most part. Although we are starting to see, again, like I said, lots of signs of distribution here. Russell closing below this level. That's a little bit of a mini red flag. The Russell's been one of the strongest parts of this market lately, and that's kept me from getting too bearish. But this starts to break down. That's going to be a big negative. But either way, tomorrow, again, we'll watch that 450.70. I don't expect it to be of too much consequence. And then, of course, the 20 moving average there. Sorry, we get our charts back here. Need to get myself a new mouse. There we go. So 20 moving average there, right in that vicinity as well. So we'll watch that going into tomorrow. And then, of course, it's going to be all about the CPI reaction. Tomorrow, if we get down, if we do sell off again during Globex like we did, I don't know if I'd be as interested in this 50 MA because we basically just hit it today effectively. But short term, we'll watch for this 380 level. And again, like I said, I would have felt a lot better if the SPY just tested 444 today. It just didn't. So just kind of really indecisive price action here. But again, those are the levels we're watching here. The Dow, that was down 0.5%, still holding the 20 moving average. And again, that makes sense, with a market that's starting to see some volatility, starting to see some negative gamma creep in. You're going to see blue chips outperform, and obviously that is the case here. Semiconductors starting to see a little bit of signs of tiredness. Again, we talked about this the other day. We're basically flat to May. I mean, this looks like it's been a powerhouse, and it kind of has, but we're flat to where we pushed up to in May. So hasn't really done a whole lot of buying and not a lot of reward here. But semiconductors breaking this trend line, that is now busted. You get through 150, you'll have some support at 145, and then, like I said, there's a big fat air pocket down here that I think needs to get touched at some point here. But semiconductors still hanging in there, still holding up. Probably will until NVIDIA earnings later this month, and I am very interested to see what they say during that conference call. But by the way, Jensen Huang also selling some shares too, not a ton, but if his earnings are going to be so great, why don't you just wait 3 weeks? So interesting. But semis holding in there okay. IGV talked about this level yesterday. That got gapped below. Datadog reported, and they got smoked down 17%. So that did weigh down on the IGV, but it did come off the lows pretty nicely. So effectively still holding this green bar here on the daily and the weekly. So that's an important level. You close below that, it's going down here, down to 320 in that trend line there. Maybe even a pierce of that. But right now, holding up okay. It did come off the lows, and we'll respect that here. In the short term, transports here, we got to take a look at this close. So we closed 30 points above this green bar low. So they did save that by the end of the day. Technically speaking, I would call that still an inside pattern. And he closed above the 20 moving average too. So again, transport's still holding up here. They're hanging in there okay. Levels haven't changed. You get above this high, you can go to 17. You start to break down. 16.5 to 16.6 is your big support there on the daily for the DJT. For interest rates here, so we'll flip over here. There's our dollar index. Interest rates here starting off the 2-year as always. Again, just a lot of backing and filling, a lot of chop. I talked about this the other day. Looking at the 10-year, it's getting a little crowded, and we are seeing a pullback. There is some chatter I'm hearing about a possible flight to safety. There's a lot of people talking about a credit event, stuff like that. Is that possible? Of course it's possible. More importantly, what does that mean for treasuries? Well, it could be a flight to safety. If that's the case, though, I don't see yields going that much lower. There's higher floors here. I'm looking at probably like 3.4, maybe a pierce of that on the 10-year, and probably like 3.6 or so on the 30-year. I just don't see yields really pulling back all that much here. I think the case is kind of broken here for the flight to safety in the big picture. Doesn't mean the yields won't, or it doesn't mean bonds can't get a bid, but these are selling off for a reason. We had a secular bull market for 40 years, 1980 to 2020. I think about interest rate cycles, they're typically 40-year cycles. This was exactly 40 years. I think this dynamic is changing. Personally, that's my analysis on it. But interest rates doing some backing and filling here as bonds getting a bid. Their trade was pretty crowded. I talked about that last week, and we are seeing them pull back. XHB, again, down early and then coming off the lows. This can still get to double top. ITB, this can still make new highs, although this does kind of have like a bit of a rolling kind of top look pattern to it. A little distribution there. High, kind of lower high, possible slight higher high, that type of look there. Not going to bet against it until it gives us a sell signal, but again, it's holding up there, but it is looking pretty tired. And this is about as lofty as it gets. This is not a tech stock, right? It's the ITB. And it's up basically almost 100% since October. So VNQ here holding up for now. This probably wants to go down and retest 80 though. I don't really see a ton more downside past that at this time, but again, still on the weaker side there. XLF, we briefly touched on financials earlier. This can still get to 36, 36.20. Again, down earlier this morning, but I didn't see any damage there. And, some of the big banks did get hit pretty hard, but You know, you got to remember XLF, Berkshire is the biggest holding in that, and then JPM. So it's going to hold up pretty well as long as those two hold up, which I do see happening. KRE, we talked about, that went, tested the 20 MA, no damage there. KBE, no damage there. That pattern looks good for an advance here, believe it or not. Then broker dealers here breaking down just a little bit, but again, these are overbought. They can, you know, do some backing and filling, but this can still go higher if it does enough consolidation. All right, on to the star of the day, energy across the board. The crude only up 1% here, but it's not what happened, or it's not the amount it was up. It's the price action. Take a look at this sell off, and that is a V shape if I've ever seen one. Intraday up move, and now kind of bull flagging here intraday as well. Hourly and 4 hour. You know, this is strong. Really strong here. Hammering on my weekly resistance level. You close above 83.53 on a weekly close. This is going up to 95. So crude is really strong here. XLE, red to green, very strong. I did pick up some of this on the dip too as well. Full disclosure there. XOP, red to green. OIH, red to green. Energy is holding up really well, albeit somewhat overbought, specifically the OIH and the XOP, but it is just holding up really well. Nat gas, and up another 2.5% here after the 6-7% gain yesterday. Channel on the daily and weekly, and we're popping through that now. So this is acting well. Speaking of nat gas, nat gas plays EOG, red to green, EQT, red to green, AR, red to green. LNG, red to green. Chesapeake, red to green. A lot of strength here in the energy sector. I am bullish on energy, as you know, into the second half of the year. All right, let's get over to the dollar index here. So dollar holding up as well. 102.55. You guys know my weekly level here, 102.56.4. We close above that. We might have a little trappy in the DXY, but we'll see. We'll see what happens here. So let's get through 103.2, and then you've got this level, which is a daily chart level, and then this one is the big weekly level. You close a week above that, you're going up to 106, 106.50. But dollar index hanging in there okay, and on the daily, that's a good pattern. My only problem with it is that we had this pattern here on the daily with a dominant weekly pattern last time, and we broke down. So I'm neutral still until proven otherwise, but dollar still holding up there, and again, we'll respect it until, again, proven otherwise. Gold here backing off a little bit today. That was on the softer side. Silver really got smoked, breaking 23. Again, I got a lot of messages about this a month ago saying, oh, did we miss the silver move? We didn't miss the silver move. I never got a buy signal on it. I was willing to wait for pattern here, but this did come down, lost the 200 moving average. This is still oversold. I wouldn't be surprised to see them save this weekly green bar by the end of the week. You're kind of coming back and testing these moving averages here. But again, still a pretty soft sign that you couldn't get through 25.50 and then rolled over pretty sharply. I still think this has one more leg down. I'm waiting, though. I'm waiting like this for it when it hits my level. But until then, still soft. Platinum also hitting 900, getting a little bit of a bounce. That's got one more drop, too. Also waiting for that, too. And then copper here, pretty good dump there on copper. Good volume. Where we talk about 370, whereas the low of the day 372, and it did come off the lows, but pretty good breakdown pattern. Failed breakout, probably going to break down. If this bear flags, it's got another drop in it. But copper, little red candle there. All right, Bitcoin 30,500. We're above my daily resistance level, 30,210. So we get a close above that. Your next level is, you're basically at the next level, so right around 30,750, we'll call it. Again, seen a lot of bear flag charts on Bitcoin lately on my feed, but you guys got to look at the weekly. Tells you a lot more, and it's more dominant. And you got a beautiful bullish. I mean, this is a power pattern. This is what you want to be involved in. I mean, that's a power base there. So again, it's not it's not set in stone, but it's starting to push up. And I got a target of this now to about 34,000. So That target has increased because we've based so long here. Again, it's still got a little bit of work to do, but you still got to get above this red bar and above the high there, but it's starting to scale up and looking pretty good there. So I like Bitcoin. I like what it's doing. I love the base there. I don't care that the daily's sloppy and has a bear flag. The weekly's got a massive bull flag. So go with those weekly time frames. They tell you a lot more than the daily, and they're more dominant. All right, wrapping up here, just checking on the spiders again tomorrow. We'll look for 450.70 to possibly get hit. Does it mean anything? No, I don't really think so. The market's going to chop around a lot on CPI. The market's reaction to CPI is going to tell me a lot more here. I've seen a lot of distribution on the charts. I'm not expecting higher highs at this current time. Could I be wrong about that? It's certainly possible. If I am, then we go up here and we test 463, 462 there on the SPY. My guess is though, I'd like to see a move down into this area and then kind of see what happens to the market there. But either way, a lot of choppiness here. I would expect tomorrow to be choppy as well. Maybe some more indecision before the CPI number. But outside of that, we'll kind of just have to wait and see what the reaction is when that happens. So anyways, guys, going to wrap it up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I will talk to you guys all tomorrow.